It's not a photo op. He wants a serious meeting. I think he's taking this more serious than he let on earlier today, Aaron.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff Zeleny.
Sure.
And I want to go now to Bruce Klingner, the former CIA Deputy Division Chief for Korea, Gloria Borger, Chief Political Analyst, and the retired Major General James Spider Marks, the former Senior Intelligence Officer on Korea. Gloria, winging it, you know, it's Trump's style. It has worked for him.
Sure.
And he loves to brag about it, you know, the way some people maybe might brag about not studying for a test when they did. But this is an unprecedented moment in history, right? Sounds from what Pompeo is trying to say and what Jeff is reporting that maybe Trump is doing a little bit of pretending here about not preparing. Do you think that's the case? And why does he feel the need to pretend that he's not doing his job?
Well, this isn't a president, first of all, who sits through hours-long briefings and discussions. And I think what Pompeo is probably doing is at every opportunity, he tries to brief him a little bit at a time, which is the way the president seems to like these things done, and kind of bite-sized prep. But I also think there's a larger issue here, Aaron, and that is that it's about the president's ego. It's about the president's constant sense that he can do things that no one else has done, that former presidents have not been able to do. And I'm reminded of what he said at the convention. Remember when he said, "I alone can fix it"?
Yes, yeah.
And this is the sort of president's attitude, which is where others have failed, I can come in and I can win and I can succeed. And so I think that's the message that he's trying to send to the American people.
And Bruce, you know, to Gloria's point, you know, he continued. He went on today about how he doesn't need to prepare, and here's more of what he said.
This isn't a question of preparation. It's a question of whether or not people want it to happen, and we'll know that very quickly.
Bruce, you dealt with all of this, right? We saw 2005, very detailed promises made and broken. 2008, detailed promises made, detailed promises broken, and those are just two of several examples. Is this really as simple as preparation doesn't matter? If you want it to happen, it happens, and if not, it doesn't?
Well, really, the underlying factor in the 8 previous agreements that the international community had with North Korea, which all failed, was that North Korea cheated. They didn't abide by the commitment. So whether you're studying, you know, doing a late-night study session or winging it, the main factor is whether North Korea has changed. Now, Secretary Pompeo said today that the two sides have come closer on a common interpretation of denuclearization, but he didn't want to define the details of that. And that really is the important thing, because as you point out, the details are important. North Korea has a different definition of denuclearization, even what the Korean Peninsula is. They include the strategic bombers on Guam as being part of the Korean Peninsula because it impacts or influences that. So we really need clearly delineated text and verification.
Right, which is obviously not something that would be done at a summit like this, but you know, there's just so much at stake here. When you come out of it, what you say you're going to get. I mean, General Marks, you know, during the debates in 2016, you know, we all remember the moment, Hugh Hewitt was the questioner. Trump appeared to not even know what the nuclear triad was, which is the 3 ways that the United States can launch nuclear weapons. And in the debate, when Hewitt asked his question a second time, because Trump had given a long and rambling and unclear answer the first time, here's what happened.
Of the 3 legs of the triad, though, do you have a priority? Because I want to go to Senator Rubio after that.
I think to me, nuclear is just the power, the devastation is very important to me.
What do you think, General? Is this negotiation with North Korea just about wanting it, as Trump says, right? Or do details, this is just an example of one that at the time he did not seem to know, do details matter?
Well, details do matter. I mean, of course, we know that. I don't know that this is an either-or type of a conversation. Clearly, whether the president's prepared or not, I would certainly hope he's prepared walking into this, but I'm crossing my fingers when I say hope. There's no evidence to the contrary that he's not prepared. There's no evidence that he's going to walk in there and totally wing it. The issue is, and it's already been discussed, North Korea has been in place for 70-plus years. They've never told the truth. They continually lie. My concern about this is that North Korea could sign up for everything to include denuclearization, right, and whatever the modalities look like, because they're going to play a long game. They know that President Trump will be out of office in 2 years or 6 years, and that there will be an opportunity for them to obfuscate and to skirt through the process that Bruce has described very, very specifically. This takes time. You've got to have all these specifics in place. Now, clearly, the president and Kim are not going to agree to those, but this process has to lead us to something. They have given us plenty of opportunity to observe that they don't tell the truth, and this could be will be very problematic.
And then, Gloria, on top of all of this, enter Rudy Giuliani, because of course, enter Rudy Giuliani, right? This is a Shakespearean saga in which we all now live. Pompeo to do some cleanup with regards to Rudy, who just came out and said this about Kim.
Well, Kim Jong-un got back on his hands and knees and begged for it, which is exactly the position you want to put him in.
Okay, so you grimace, you wince, you laugh. I don't know what one's reaction to that is, but nonetheless, it's hugely insulting, right? And Kim had threatened to call off the summit when he felt insulted by the vice president, who would never say something as whatever inappropriate as that was. So Pompeo was asked about it today, and here's what he said, Gloria.
I took him as being a small room and not being serious about the comments. I think it was a bit in jest.
Jeopardize the summit, or
we're moving forward. We're focused on the important things. I know Rudy doesn't speak for the administration when it comes to this negotiation and this set of issues.
Ouch. Gloria, how much of a problem is Rudy creating?
Well, it could create a problem if Pompeo hadn't just distanced himself from him. I mean, it's one thing to distance yourself from remarks made by the vice president or by your national security advisor. It's a little more difficult. Rudy Giuliani is involved in the Russia investigation and not North Korea. I mean, the only question I would have if I were over in North Korea is Rudy Giuliani getting this from the president, with whom he speaks quite frequently? But Pompeo did a good job, I think, of trying to just kind of say, well, he's over there and he doesn't speak for us, and he ought to stick to his knitting. And I think he was sending a message to Rudy as well, which is to stop. Be quiet here.
Yeah, and as we'll talk later in the show, not the only person in the administration to slam Rudy today. Bruce, we've all been told, right, at some point in negotiation in our lives that the ultimate leverage is your willingness to walk away. And it is something Trump threatens repeatedly to do to Kim Jong-un. Here he is just today.
All I can say is I am totally prepared to walk away. I did it once before. You have to be able to walk away.
So, Bruce, is it really that simple once you get to Singapore? I mean, if he does that, what will the cost to the U.S. be?
Well, you have to ensure that you do get a good deal and that you're either willing to continue at negotiations to ensure you get the right deal or walk away. But what you need to do is, if you either walk away or take a pause, is to not only maintain maximum pressure, and it's not been maximum, there's a lot of things we're pulling our punches on, but then you have to increase the pressure. And when the president last week said he has hundreds of North Korean entities that he's holding back on sanctioning, that's the wrong message. And also there were reports that the Treasury Department had 36 Chinese and Russian entities that were holding back on sanctions and targeted financial measures, which often cases is enforcing U.S. law. You don't want to hold back if you have evidence against those violating our laws.
And General Marks, I mean, but here's the thing, the president, he said he was canceling the summit and then he didn't. Does he really now have the power to walk away, or is he the boy who cried wolf?
Well, he certainly can walk away, but the challenge with that is that we have gotten into sausage making beyond any recollection that I've seen before, and that just makes it very, very difficult. I mean, how do you have confidence when you kind of lift the veil and you peer into all the internecine kind of intricacies of trying to get a summit together, and everybody goes, oh my goodness, there's a lot of moving parts here, and then you have no confidence that this thing will take place. That's the challenge about walking away.
All right, thank you all. And next, breaking news. Trump and the French president in a war of words tonight. So it's love with North Korea and a war of words with France. What happened to this?
He is perfect. So it is really great to be with you, and you are a special friend.
Well, those days are over. Plus, Janine Pirro of Fox News reportedly wants a big job in the Trump administration, and wait till you hear what it is. Plus, is Mike Pence